task force.
Thank you, Congressman. And you're right. The best cases I ever made as a terrorism prosecutor was on the task force because we had embedded state and local authorities with federal authorities, state and federal prosecutors working. Cases because sometimes you couldn't bring them in state court, and sometimes you can't bring them in federal court. And so the gang task force is, right up there with the JTF model. It serves the same purpose by allowing. My best example is the Virginia Homeland Security Task Force. We simply allowed access, placement, and location. And then we got out of the way, we being leadership. We are not running the cases in the field. Agents are. Intel analysts are synthesizing intelligence, not me. Putting them in simply the same room and giving them some resources. You don't need to recreate or be super innovative. And that's the beauty of the gang task force. The folks in there are experienced career operators at every level that they operate in. They know what they're doing. What they're not currently allowed to do is get together enough. And that's simply what we're trying to do with part of this plus up. And again, and you're right, Congressman Ivey, we're not doing it overnight. It's a process that's going to take about a year if we get it right across the board, because it takes time to transfer expertise, but at the same time, we're not going to gap expertise in headquarters. And just to be clear, we're not taking out the headquarters footprint. We're leaving a large footprint here still. We are just adjusting to the violent crime and gangs are one.
I'm spot on. I did a roundtable in San Antonio. We had FBI, we had HSI, we had ATF, we had local law enforcement, we had state law enforcement. I think that's more. We need more of that. We need to turn the volume up on that, and once again move some of the bureaucrats. The other thing, I represent a district. It's larger than 30 states, right? And there's a part of my district. One of my counties produces more natural gas than anywhere else in the country. And I want to highlight something for you that has worked, and this is the Permian Basin Oil Theft Task Force. And oil theft in West Texas is a real deal, right? Especially with the border crisis that we had to deal with over the last 4 years. And I would ask that you please continue to take a look at that. That is a program, once again, without the FBI being at the core of providing the intelligence and the expertise, it's really difficult for some of these sheriffs and some of these local municipalities to tackle these organized crimes. So as you're working through the budget process, as you're working through what has to stick and what has to go, that Permian Basin Oil Theft Task Force is very important. I'd love to get your thoughts on it the time I have left.
Well, I'm slightly biased, Congressman, because I do some of my hunting out in the Permian Basin and out in the Glass Mountains, so I'm familiar with that just by a matter of being there on the ground a lot. But it's an example of not just your district, but if you go down to Idaho and you go into Texas or Arkansas or California even, or where have you, the localized problems that the national level can't understand or comprehend cannot be comprehended or understood by putting more people in Washington, D.C. That's what I'm trying to accomplish. These folks have the expertise and the knowledge, and if we put them in the field with your experts, then they can relay back to us, hey, did you know about this big oil problem down in West Texas? Sadly, most Americans know, but honestly, most Americans shouldn't. It's not their responsibility, it's mine. And so that's what we're working towards.
I'm looking to codify that. Love to continue to working with that on that and other things. Thank you again for your testimony today. Chairman, I yield back.
Mr. Morelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the meeting, and thank you, Director Patel, for being here. I want to just preface this. I feel important to say that I think while the history of the FBI has not been a perfect one, the goal of the agency has always been focused, as it should be, on keeping Americans safe, the safety of American citizens. And I think I am concerned about, and I think millions of Americans as well are concerned about any suggestions that there will be a political agenda or adherence to the president's agenda as opposed to the safety of American citizens. And I appreciate everything you said this afternoon, and I'm grateful for it. I know I've been in the business of politics for a long time. The only thing I ever care about, whether it's the military or law enforcement, that it's professional and it's nonpartisan, and that we uphold the rule of law and the Constitution of the United States. And I'm just very, very concerned about some of the things I hear from the Oval Office, not from your office necessarily, but from the Oval Office. And I hope that the president recognizes that the FBI serves the American people, and it serves the rule of law and the Constitution does not serve the president or any political agenda. And I just want to feel honor bound to say that as a preference. So I appreciate you being here. First of all, do you believe it's your duty to uphold the Constitution of the United States?
Mine and everybody at the FBI.
I appreciate that, sir. I want to go back, and I appreciate what everyone said. You know, the skinny budget, as we're calling it, is frustrating for appropriators because it's really hard to tell from the literally 10 lines and 100 words about the FBI what is envisioned here, and it calls for a cut of, as we talked about, $545 million. I gather, as I'm piecing this together, I think roughly speaking, the proposed budget is about 10.7 billion. The president has asked for about 10.2, rough numbers. You're suggesting 11.2, which would be about a $500 million increase. And I think I share, as my colleagues do, some interest in, first of all, recognizing what that increase would be and how it would accrue to the benefit of the American people. Can you just quickly, and I have a couple of different questions I'd ask you, just tell me where you would focus that increase on, because I'm concerned about the proposed cut and we have virtually nothing to go on here.
Yeah, very quickly, just in the last 3 years, the FBI has, through budget cuts and CRs, left vacant 1,000 permissions approximately every year. So right now, while everybody thinks the FBI has 38,000 employees, we do on the books, we don't have 38,000 humans. So year over year, those cuts have led to book attrition. And in order to get some of those back and some of those vacant slots back, we need to actually fund them. And the rest of the funding would go to preventing the removal of an additional amount of it.
Well, look, I'm sure you share our frustration. You probably didn't like the proposed budget any more than I think many of us did. So we would encourage you, as you're speaking to the president, to encourage him both to speed up the process and also to consider some of your recommendations. Earlier this week, there were reports by the Attorney General's plans to dissolve the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force by September 30th of this year. I find this deeply troubling. The task force recent success in my district, just last week, we removed over 200 grams of fentanyl from the streets of Rochester, New York, where I'm privileged to represent. I did send earlier today a letter to the Attorney General, which I would ask unanimous consent to enter my letter into the record, but expressing my concern over the decision and reminding the Attorney General that funds appropriated by Congress for fiscal year 25 are required to be spent, and the legality of the decision aside, the FBI is an important member of that task force. I wonder if you could just share with me the importance of the work to national security and to the public, and how you've been consulted and what your views are on the efforts of the commission.
I believe you, are you referring to OCDEF, sir?
I'm sorry?
Are you referring to OCDEF?
Yes, that's correct.
My understanding, and I'm not going to speak for the Attorney General on how the department views it, is that the cut is only to one singular office, not to the OCDEF program writ large, which the FBI has a large authority over, and so I have not been informed yet, and again, I'm not speaking for the AG, that the OCDEF program itself would be shuttered in any way.
Okay, we're getting it from news reports because we're not getting it from the department. It said a DOJ budget analyst at OCF, I think that's how you say it, would be zeroed out in the budget, and also, and I just note parenthetically that it brought in $2 billion in proceeds. It cost $500 million to run the program. So